Howdy y'all, my name is Lance Barisi and I'm the owner of Permanent Records in Los Angeles. And here I am with another Acid Archives Diaries entry. As many of you already know, Dom from Seeking a Thread started this series, I don't know how many months ago, but lots of people are contributing records that they own, that they either heard about or have just generally been reviewed in this book here, The Acid Archives, which comes very highly recommended. If you're not already familiar with the book or the series, go watch some of the other videos. There's plenty of information out there about the Acid Archives. I've done a bunch of videos in this series, including one on Fractions, Moonblood, the Stonewall LP, Raven, Back to Ohio Blues, and probably another couple that I can't even remember at this point. Well, anyway, this time around, we are covering an album that I hold very near and dear to my heart, and it is one that I think is eminently accessible. It is not an outsider record. It's not especially strange or weird or messed up in any way. It is T.R. Crooks, or Tennessee River Crooks, to be long-winded about it. Their album, either self-titled or To a Brother, depending on which pressing you have. But we'll get to that in just a moment. Before we go any further, I'd like to subscribe. I should subscribe to my own channel. Can you do that? If I haven't already, I will immediately after this video subscribe to this channel, and I hope you will too. If you like this kind of content, please like this video and send me a comment in the comments section below. I do my best to reply to all of those comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this video, this record, and the Acid Archives in general. It's one of my favorite books that exists. So anyway, in 1976, I gotta stop clapping on camera. 1976, Tennessee River Crooks release, well, not this album cover, but they release a self-titled album that is absolutely stunning. And I'm here to talk about that today. I'm gonna try to not be too long-winded about it, so let's get right into the heart of the matter. So like many adolescents growing up in the mid-60s, Jimmy Stewart and Larry Farrar formed a band after hearing the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan TV show. They were called early on Rat Salad by 1970, Hit and Run after that, and then finally they settled on the name Tennessee River Crooks. The band name is taken from the cigar box pictured here on the self-titled debut that their roadie Jerry Crouch used to stash the cash from the shows that he worked around the region in. And yeah, the cigar box, in case you're not familiar, you're not a cigar smoker, that's the kind of box that cigars come in. I probably could have left that part out of this video, but anyway, Tennessee River Crooks released this absolutely stunning masterpiece of Americana, and as Paul Major put it, it is an unfiltered slice of real life in the Southern rock genre. I think also a good way to describe the album and get you in the right headspace to even talk about it is to read the quote from the band off the back of the original pressing. They said themselves that this album is the first effort of a group by dusty musicians who call themselves Tennessee River Crooks. It's not produced by a major record label. It does not contain many of the tricks and gimmicks normally associated with such a production. It's a group effort of quite a few people who are interested in the music in general and this band in particular. What you will hear is the band, with most of the rhythm tracks recorded live, just as they sound when you hear them live. The music is all original, the reproduction is realistic, and the album was recorded at the Sound Farm, a studio located out in the woods outside a little settlement called Puryear, Tennessee between June and October of 1976. And you can see the Sound Farm record label logo right there on the back of the jacket. So again, the album is a Southern rock album. It's not included in the list, the Dirty Dozen Best Southern Rock Private Presses in the back of the Acid Archives, but Rich Haupt does mention it specifically in his article in the back of the book. Is very much influenced by the big Southern rock bands of the day, Leonard Skinner, the Almonds, 38 Special. But this is a very stripped down comfort food album of pure American rock and roll. Yeah, so let's get into the nitty-gritty details. On this album, you have Jimmy Stewart playing bass, and he's also the lead vocalist. His brother Ricky Stewart is playing drums. Larry Farrar, the aforementioned Larry Farrar, Jimmy Stewart's partner in crime, if you will, and Ronnie Waters were playing guitars on the album. And the previous band member, and we'll get to that in just a moment, Mike Hendricks, returns for the sessions on this album to add lead guitar. And Jimmy Stewart and Mike Hendricks wrote all the songs on this album. The vocals, they're very appealing and very comforting, and they inhabit a space that's, or inhabit, I should say, a space that's somewhere between Ronnie Van Zant and Steve Miller Band. If you like Southern rock and the Steve Miller Band, then Tennessee River Crooks is going to be right up your alley. This is a bare bones album, and because of that, I think it sounds quite timeless. They don't use a lot of studio trickery, as they mention on the back of the album cover. The loose but tight rhythm section and the perfectly balanced vocal harmonies make this album just eminently listenable for fans of classic rock that you've never heard before. Like I said, there are two pressings of this album, one from 1976 that looks like this, and one from 1977 that looks like this. There are the two pressings were issued in editions of 1,000 copies, and this record is quite collectible at this point. As of the making of this video, there's one copy available for sale of this pressing for $900, and the median is somewhere around $300, and there are 0 copies of the first pressing that looks like this. The reason the band changed album art is because after this version was released, unfortunately, guitar player Ronnie Waters, pictured on the front of this pressing, passed away tragically, and they decided to dedicate this version of the album to Ronnie Waters and title the album To a Brother. So, Tennessee River Crooks existed for one album and one album alone. Afterwards, Larry Farrar passed away in 1994. Jimmy Stewart, however, he went on to write a 1991 Grammy-nominated song called Brotherly Love that was recorded by Earl Thomas Conley and Keith Whitley. And he also wrote a song called A Little Less Talk and a Lot More Action that Toby Keith recorded, and also wrote songs for Shania Twain, Hank Williams Jr., and Ricky Van Shelton, among others. Jimmy Stewart has existed in the Nashville music scene ever since this, and has had quite a successful career. So, anyway, getting into the nitty-gritty of the tracks here, what we have is a 9-song album, okay? The title track, or the lead-off track, Waiting for a Better Day, uses a hypnotic yet tough rhythm guitar pattern to convey, you guessed it, life on the road. That's a huge, huge source of subject matter for all things Southern rock, and the first song on this album is no different. Song of David is a somber, folky, melodic lament for a friend who died. It's a really poignant and heartfelt tribute to their friend David, who passed away after going away to art school. We Are All Brothers is a anti-racist, kind of funky, how would I call it, riffy rock number. What's next on here? Oh, I skipped over Farmin' Man. Okay, so Farmin' Man and Tennessee Land, is that it? No, Farmin' Man and White Lightning are the two hardest rocking tracks on this album. They're both classic hard rocking Southern rock tracks. Let's see, Old Music is kind of a delightful, jazzy, acoustic shuffler that reminds me of like a nostalgic Steve Miller Band track like Dance, 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 if you've ever heard that song. If not, go get the Greatest Hits by the Steve Miller Band, because that album slaps front to back for sure. Tennessee Land is a kind of a weavy riff, jangly rhythm guitar kind of thing that has countrified leads, and it's all about finding the peaceful life out in the country and living off of the Tennessee land, if you will. Life on the Road, yet another solid rhythm guitar bed rock song that is like, how would I describe that one? Life on the Road. It's about life on the road. It's a groovy highway jam about being in a touring band. And last, but certainly not least, there's the final track on the album is an instrumental called Hot Bush, spelled B-U-S-C-H, like the beer, of course, naturally. And it's an instrumental jam, if I didn't say that already, that allows for some progginess to seep into the album, but not too much. And it gives each band member a little kind of opportunity to shine in their solos, and reminds me, like many other Private Press Southern Rock albums, of T.R. Crooks' version of Freebird. I may have mentioned this in a previous video, and if not, or if you've not seen that, each Southern Rock private pressing, almost all of them, have their attempt at Freebird. Some are more successful than others, and Hot Bush is definitely not as nuanced as Freebird. It doesn't build softly into this big crescendo jam the way Freebird does, but it's still a cool album closer, and yeah, definitely worth your listen. I hope I've conveyed my love for this album. I find it to be so incredibly endearing. I think the record itself is absolutely perfect. And yeah, I cannot recommend it enough. That said, I will now, as tradition has it, read the actual entry into the Acid Archives, if I can keep my notes from flopping out of the pages of the book. Let's see who reviewed this one. So T.R. Crooks is included on the previous page here. T.R. Crooks. Where are you, T.R. Crooks? There you are. Okay, on page 333, who reviewed it? SD. Who is SD? As you may have noticed, Acid Archives includes the contributor's initials in each review, and SD is, to give credit where credit is due, Stan Densky. I don't see SDs on as many reviews as you see some of the other ones, but Stan Densky, thank you very much for reviewing T.R. Crooks, and here is what he had to say about it. Great album here, and not a bad track on it. Tennessee long-haired freaks start jamming together and develop original songs by blending their various musical influences, West Coast hippie, rural rock, Southern rock, and Appalachian hillbilly folk, into their own refreshing sound. The core band was bass player, drummer, and 3 guitarists, usually complemented by 1 or more guest artists. This band shines with endless beams of colorful guitar action and consistent instrumental strength that is well supported by strong leads and harmony vocals. The only evidence of any keyboards used on this record was a mild glimmer of ARP synthesizer on 2 tracks. I was told by a well-informed collector that the TR Crooks had some sort of connection with the Tennessee farm band, but was unable to locate any hard evidence to validate this. I'll get back to you with more information on that in a future video. This LP should appeal to many, but is practically vanished from this planet and not likely to be reissued anytime soon. Well, I'm here to inform you that it has been reissued. Thanks to yours truly tracking down the band and Writing Easy Records, you can now buy a reissue of this album with the original rarer album art. Well, I guess neither one is rare, but this is technically the first pressing album cover with the cigar box on the front. On limited edition, I'm calling this Tennessee Coneflower purple colored vinyl. Tennessee coneflowers are a flowering plant, very common to Tennessee. And yeah, we reissued this together on Writing Easy Records. I did all the A&R work. I tracked down Jimmy Stewart and Mike Hendricks. We were able to license 2 of the Mike Hendricks tracks that he wrote from another label called Fervor Records for this vinyl reissue. And now you can get your own copy of the Tennessee River Crooks album in all its remastered glory. It sounds fantastic on permanentrecordsla.com. All right, that's been yet another entry into the Acid Archives Diary. Thank you so much for watching this video, for subscribing to this channel, and commenting below. I'll see you again here soon with another video. Until then, peace, y'all.